Please stand for the playing of the national anthem performed by Richland Center High School junior Logan Peterson.
Thanks, well done. Well done.
Thank you. All right, let the record show Mrs. Sharp is absent. Mr. Dowd will be here shortly. Mr. Board, has public notice been given?
It has, we are working off the revised agenda, which includes the approval of the consent agenda, which was mistakenly omitted.
All right, on to shout outs and celebrations.
I have one form here turned in. If there's anyone else who would like to give a shout out, please fill out the orange slip, but this one is for Carrie Stoltz.
I'm actually here on behalf of Elise Flutterer, and she writes, when I started my job as a special education teacher in this district a year and a half ago, I was hired a few days before school started. This was my very first full-time teaching position, and I inherited a caseload of students with a high variety of learning needs. I had almost no time to prepare before students showed up in my classroom, and what I was most nervous about was that I also inherited 2 classroom aides. I would be sharing space with these women daily, and they would be integral to my job and success as a teacher, and they were total strangers. They were used to working with one of the most experienced and talented educators in our district and didn't know me at all, and we didn't have time to get to know each other before students arrived. In the haze of that first month of school, I can't remember exactly when I realized it, but it was early. I had hit the jackpot with Mrs. Tammy Salisbury and Mrs. Emily Powell. They knew things I needed before I did, and materials and tools would appear out of the cupboards that I hadn't yet explored. They made sure I knew who people were, where rooms were, and knew who to go to if I didn't. Somehow they provided encouragement and support without ever making me feel stupid. And over the last year and a half, we have become not just a strong team, but friends. They never hesitate to step in when I need them, pivot when necessary, and any idea I have for something to do with our students, they quietly prepare in spare minutes between students or on their break, and it feels like magic happens. They have endless patience, know when to be firm and when to be flexible with our students, and they are constantly looking for ways to show other staff members love and support. But most importantly to me, I look forward to going to work every day because I know no matter what the day brings, I will walk through it with them. It is truly a gift to be able to share daily life with friends who are a steady constant throughout the inevitable pivots that come with this job, and I am forever grateful that I've had the privilege of working with and knowing them.
Thank you. Ms. Coleman, do you receive any others?
I did not.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to public comment. Per policy 0167.3, anyone wishing to participate in the period of public comment must be a resident of the Richland School District, the parent or legal guardian of an enrolled district student, or an enrolled district student. Persons wishing to participate must be physically present at the meeting and must register in advance. A total time allotment of 30 minutes will be given for public comment. Each participant shall be given 3 minutes to address the board. Speakers not permitted to make inflammatory comments, use inappropriate language or gestures, attack specific persons, or make a specific person the subject of their remarks. Please see policy 0167.3 for a complete list of requirements and restrictions. If a person is unable to adhere to these rules, they may be directed to end their comments. Mrs. Coleman? Thank you. Moving on to reports, district administrators report.
Okay, just a couple of things here. So the deadline for candidates to announce candidacy for the spring election, school board election. All three of our incumbents did submit candidacy paperwork by the deadline. Lots were drawn for the ballot order per state statutes. For the ballot order, we did that on Friday, January 9th. And so the order that will appear for the area 4, which is the at-large, will be Sheila Troxel will be listed first, followed by Jill Sharp. Voters will choose 2 members. And at this point, well, they will be the only 2 on the ballot. Of course, somebody can still do a write-in candidacy. And then Tiffany Thompson will be the lone name on the ballot for Area 1 East. A couple of dates to keep in mind here. This Friday is the end of the quarter, and therefore we have an early release for our students. Staff will continue to work as they wrap up grades, but our students will have an early release. And then Monday is a district close day. That is Martin Luther King Day. And so not only will students and staff not be here, but the entire district, including all the building offices, will be closed. And then finally, the State Education Convention is going on next week. It starts on Tuesday, the 20th, runs through Friday, the 23rd. We have 6 members going to the state convention. We have board members, Aaron Unbehan and Sheila Troxel, along with administrators, myself, Dr. Johnson, Mr. Josem, and Carrie Stoltz will all be in attendance. And we'll report back to you when we get back before the January 28th meeting. So, any questions from the board? I should add that we've got a little different setup here. We're going to try a couple of different configurations and then get some feedback from the board on what they like and don't like. And we'll try to find the best one possible. So, any questions? Awesome. Thank you so much.
All right, board member reports.
The Richland School District Foundation has met a few times since last report. We're going to be switching this to quarterly reports instead of doing it after each monthly meeting. We talked about the homecoming, which is October 16th of 2026, and then outstanding alumni to go with that. With the outstanding alumni, we're looking at redoing the banners and how we recognize those that receive that. Caleb Muller from our tech ed department is working on a design and being able to produce those here within the school. We can incorporate that into some curriculum and the students actually work on those. The Friends of Science is supporting the Sea Perch program and Skills USA, which are getting a reboot. So that's starting up and is going to be carrying forward. The fall 2026 musical was discussed. We have a pretty good idea of what the show is going to be, but it's not given necessarily a solid answer that of what is, if that's a final decision on that. So I'll just hold that for a later time. We discussed the foundation's 2026 calendar with the different meetings, what days those are going to be. We're going to continue to meet at 5:30 on the 3rd Monday of the month. And we've allocated resources and had discussion on several different scholarship funds and some folks that have donated money to the school district. And then the last thing is the annual meeting is January 26th at 5:30 here at the school. I'm not sure if it's going to be here in the library, if that's been decided yet or not. Or if it'll be in the conference room.
We'll plan on the conference.
Conference room. And that is all.
The construction capital project ad hoc committee met on December 22nd. And we, for discussion, we talked about the referendum financial report, the referendum project update, the campus property update, and other capital projects. At that time, the concession stand was close to being completed and would be turned over to the school within a few weeks. And then we also talked about and discussed some projects that we did approve, the RCHS bathroom remodels, the high drive improvements along with the city of Richland Center, the health upgrades, and the painting upgrades at the primary school. And that is all.
Any questions from the board? Board member reports? All right. Move on then to the student council report.
Where's them right here? Working?
Is it
All right.
green?
Yep. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Dadoon, and I will be representing student council and informing you all of what we've been working on recently. Student council officers are currently reviewing applications for new members for the upcoming semester. This process will help ensure strong student representation and continued engagement across grade levels. Student council is also planning to partner with the middle school student council for a joint event, Battle of the Beards. This collaboration will be intended to build school spirit and strengthen connections between students at different grade levels. This is still in the early stages, so more details will be provided next meeting. And that's all the updates I have. We haven't had much time together as a council since coming back from winter break. But just like the Chicago Bears, down 21-3 after halftime, we're back and better than ever. Bear down. I had to. So I was asking if Lemke was here tonight.
Thank you.
All right. Move on then to the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the prior meeting minutes of December 22nd, 2025?
The move.
Motion made by Mr. Mealy. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Troxel. Discussion? Mr. Mealy?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right, let's move on then to financial items. Approval of statement of cash and invoices.
So, I'd like to make a motion to approve the statement of cash dated January 8th, 2026. And approve Community First Bank General Checking Account checks number 878-64-87951. ACH number 252-604-172-252-604-394. EFT number 202-500-142-202-500-154 for a net total of $1,174,053.42. This is for the purpose of general operating costs of the district.
All right, the motion was made by Mr. Miller. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, Ms. Troxel. Mr. Bosworth, anything you want to point out or add?
Nothing to add tonight.
Thank you. Discussion? Mr. Miller?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, on to the 2024-25 audited financial report.
I'll turn this over to Mr. Bosworth to introduce our folks, if you don't mind.
Sure, that's great. We work with Johnson Block Auditors, locally based out of Viroqua. We have a team of 3 auditors we work with really closely, Marissa and Matt and Sarah. Matt is going to be with us tonight to present the 24-25 audited documents for you.
Hello, everyone. John, I'm assuming I can just share my screen then.
Is that right, Carrie?
Yeah, should be good too.
I think you should be good to share.
Are you guys able to see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, like John said, I'm with Johnson Block. I've been on Richland School District's audit for a few years now. So I'm kind of just going to go through the overall audit process and then some of the financial highlights. If anyone has any questions, feel free to stop me or let me know at the end, and I'll do my best to answer them. So first, kind of an overall audit overview. We completed our audit of Richland School District for the year ended June 30th, 2025, and issued an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. That essentially means what's in our financial report. We believe there's no either significant errors or things that would potentially mislead a reader. We believe everything's materially, factually correct. We also should have sent some audited financial statements in some bound documents. They were issued in early December, so I'm assuming you guys would have gotten that. The scope of our audit includes all funds and activities within the district. So that includes general operations, capital projects, special education, etc. Management has reviewed and accepted the documents as well as any adjusting journal entries that we've proposed. We've also submitted the year-end audit reports electronically to the Department of Public Instruction. We also include a separate audit communication document that's designed for the board. I believe you should have all gotten a copy of that. A couple of things that I wanted to comment on for that, as well as in our financial report, were management letter comment related to a capitalization policy. So federal guidelines have increased the policy from 5,000 to 10,000. So we've just been recommending that all school districts increase their policy to kind of follow the federal guidelines. We had a finding related to material audit adjustments, which we consider a material weakness. This just means that we had to make some significant audit adjustments to get things to kind of true up to what they should be. Pretty typical that we see this at quite a few of our schools, so nothing to be too concerned about. Another finding we had was related to cash reconciliations. So before the audit really got started, we found out that cash wasn't fully reconciled, as well as the capital projects account wasn't fully recorded. So we recorded a material weakness related to that as well, just because it's fairly important to have cash balances being stated accurately. And I believe John and Tiffany have kind of worked through that with us, as well as one of our accounting specialists, and then someone on their end to kind of get that all figured out going forward. Last, we have a significant deficiency related to segregation of duties. Again, this is one that we kind of see at all of our smaller clients. Essentially, it means that within the business office, there's overlap among jobs that are being completed. So something to kind of mitigate that risk would be just having more board oversight like you guys are doing, just to kind of check over what's being done. Additionally, we report on a schedule of federal and state awards. That's a separate compliance audit that's done. Typically, we have this done with the financial statements, but the federal government with the shutdown kind of had some delays. So we weren't able to get started on that until around end of November, December. So we're currently wrapping that up now, and we'll hopefully have it out by the end of January. But I wanted to point out that during 2025, the district spent about $2.5 million in federal funds. Here's a breakout of the statement of revenues and expenditures. So this shows by fund different revenues and expenses, as well as in the far right column, totals for 2025 compared to 2024. A couple of things to point out. First, for property taxes, the first line, it went up from 9.
John, I'm assuming you can just finish it. Maybe give him a moment to rejoin.
Yeah, it might be on Verizon for having issues today. They might not even know that I lost it.
We have to have contact for him.
Email.
Might not matter.
Still there. But you never know. It's not still playing out.
That's 7.5.
She's so much.
Move this to 10E.
No.
I haven't gotten anything, Steve.
See if we can slide him down the agenda, and if he happens to join, and we'll have a spot.
If now, it'll be next meeting. $7.25. All right, 7:25, we're gonna move on down the agenda here. This is Holman consent agenda items.
Motion to approve. Motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented. Motion to accept the donation of children's books valued at approximately $47 from the Christopherson family. Motion to accept the donation of money valued at $100 from Grandview Family Worship. Motion to accept the donation of money valued at $300 from the Vietnam Vets Chapter 7. Motion to approve 3 open enrollment in applications and 2 open enrollment out applications for the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items?
So moved.
All right, motion made by Mr. Miller, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Miller, discussion. Mrs. Thompson?
Aye.
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 On behalf of the board, I would like to thank the Christopherson family, Grandview Family Worship, and the Vietnam Vets Chapter 7 for their generous donations. All right, moving on to the approval of the modified agenda. We're gonna put the 2024-25 audited financial report, we're gonna move that down to 10E. So basically, we're just gonna make 10E a new information discussion item. Given that we lost Mr. Bob Camp a few minutes ago. Is there a motion to approve the modified agenda with the addition of 10E 2024-25 audited financial report?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Ms. Troxel, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Thompson, discussion? Ms. Troxel?
Aye.
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 All right, on to information discussion items, district vacancies and appointments.
Okay, so you see we have 5 vacancies there. The Drug Free Communities Project Coordinator is on hold. We'll discuss that position a little bit more in detail here later on in the agenda. We have 2 cross-categorical teachers interviews where today offers are pending. When I say that, I don't mean offers have been made to the candidates, but we are in the process of putting together an offer for the people that we interviewed today. And then we have the administrative assistant in the business office, reviewing applicants there. And then we have a custodian position that just closed here a couple days ago, so I'll be reviewing the applications there, probably already are, since the board book was published. But those are our vacancies and openings. Are there any questions from the board regarding any of those? Okay, thank you.
All right, notification of waiving policy 5851, school events on Wednesdays, Sundays, and holidays.
Okay, so last April, the board revised a policy 5851, which gave the district administrator the discretion to approve up to 12 events for Wednesdays, Sundays, holidays, and then with that, to notify the board at the appropriate time. There was an event that happened on Sunday, December 14th. There was a fundraiser going on at the Maggie May concert. That approval was granted, and this agenda item is simply here to let the board know that that was granted, and this is the fourth of up to 12 approvals that I'm allowed to grant. Any questions on that?
I will say that the event was very successful. So the drama club does appreciate the exception to that.
Thank you.
All right, resolutions for the WASB Delegate Assembly at State Convention.
All right, so as I mentioned earlier, this Wisconsin State Convention does start next week, and you've got a couple of board members going. Aaron Umbihan was appointed earlier during reorganization as the WSAB Delegate Assembly. Ms. Troxel is also going. She is the delegate alternate. The WSAB, or WASB, is the Wisconsin Association of School Boards. This is your association, okay, your body as a school board. And each year at the state convention, they have all of their members, okay, which is most of the school districts in Wisconsin, if not all. They have a delegate from each of those school districts, and they vote on resolutions that the WASB wants to endorse or have part of their bylaws. Okay, so this is an opportunity for you as board members. You can see I've included all the information that Mr. Umbihan has received. The proposed, I believe there's 12 proposed resolutions. And then just today, I received a couple of emails from, I believe, Kettle Moraine and Wisconsin Heights. I've included them in there as well. The board has appointed Mr. Umbihan to vote on the board's behalf. But this is an opportunity for you as board members, not necessarily specifically here tonight, although if you're prepared, you certainly can. But between now and next Tuesday, if you read through the proposals and you have a strong opinion as a board member one way or another, please relay that information to Mr. Umbihan so that he can use all the information collected from board members, if there are any, to ultimately cast a vote on behalf of the Richland School District's Board of Education at that delegate assembly, which takes place on Wednesday, January 21st. There's a pre-delegate assembly on Tuesday night, and then the actual assembly on the Wednesday, the 21st. Ms. Troxel has fulfilled that role in the past. So I don't know if you have anything to add regarding that might be helpful for board members.
I think it's just really interesting to see how everyone feels about certain things and how passionate they get about it. And it's quite interesting to go, and you really learn a lot where different schools stand and why they think the way they do. And it's just a really good learning experience. You'll have fun, Aaron.
So again, just for information, this doesn't become law, anything like that. This is just your association and the resolutions that represent the majority of the assemblies. So again, if you have information, please share that with Mr. Umbihan. Any questions? Okay. No.
It'll be the next one, Carrie.
What?
It'll be the next one. Have to do 10D first, then we'll turn it over to Von Camp. All right. The school perception staff survey results.
Okay, so every other year, for the last several years, we have conducted a staff survey through school perceptions. We do this typically in November, right before the Thanksgiving holiday. Jerry Kemmer, from School Perceptions is going to, give a presentation on the findings of that report, or of those surveys. We've used School Perceptions because, for a couple of reasons. One, it provides a third party to eliminate the perception of bias, that if administration's given a survey or if the board's given a survey and the interpretation of that data, this is done by a third party. In addition, one of the things that School Perceptions has is they have comparative data. So if you get a score for any particular question that is a 4.2 out of 5, you don't necessarily know, is that really good compared to what other school districts have? Or is that quite poor compared to what other school districts would have? And so by having School Perceptions have all of the comparative data to similar schools really gives the board a better indication of how those scores match up with comparable school districts. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to School Perceptions, Jerry Kemmer.
Yeah, hi, everybody. How are we doing? We still have technology. That's why I'm here. It either works or doesn't work. But thanks for moving me up. Appreciate that. So my name is Jerry Kember. I've worked with School Perceptions now for the last 9 years. And prior to that, I was the superintendent of schools in La Crosse, Wisconsin. So I have a lot of experience with this. I would take you through this presentation, I think. Oh, there we go. Tell you a little bit of background of the company, tell you a little bit about School Perceptions, tell you a little about the people that took the survey, give you the results and analysis, and also there's time for questions. And along the way, if you see a slide, you have a question or something you want to know more about, just stop me right there, raise your hand, and we'll deal with it right then. Okay? All right. So, boy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It was working a minute ago. Well, oh, there it goes. All right. School Perception has been around since 2002. So we're 24 years in this business. We've been doing this. We've done over 3 million of these student, staff, and parent surveys. So we've done quite a bit of it. And we've done it with another 1,000 districts. We've helped them with strategic planning. And now we've just really upped our ante on that. We have five consultants now that take the results and help the school district decide what to do with them and how to move forward. We're really about gathering and organizing data and helping school districts understand what to do with the data. Boy, I don't know why this doesn't work. Oh, there we go. All right. So you did your survey last November. That was the deadline, November 25th. Richland holds the record for participation in these surveys. We sent out 221 surveys to all your staff. 219 people responded. And I mentioned this to Carrie the other day. She said, well, that one person, one of those 2 people was out of the country. So I know you guys do a heck of a job. And I always, at the other people at School Perceptions, I always brag about Richland because very few districts have 99%, actually 99.9% participation you do. So good work on that, Steve and Carrie, and all the work you do to make sure everybody follows up. But do a great job with that. 99% is very good. Now I'm going to click this multiple times, I think, to move it forward. Maybe there's another way, huh? Oh, there we go. All right, so here are the people that took the survey. Of course, that percentage was 27% of your primary school and 22% of your intermediate school. Your largest population is the high school, so that was the largest turnout, 39%. Alternative education location, 4%. District office, 5%. Who is other, 4%? People get very, very careful about anonymity. So not everybody answers everything. So if there's probably a few people who decide not to put where they worked to try to improve their own anonymity. Are we finding something there maybe?
I think you just have to point at the podium.
Oh, is that
You
it?
could probably just bring it all the way up here if you want.
Oh, all right. Yeah, my pointers. Well, that helps. Okay, thanks for doing that. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Carrie. So what describes your position? Well, you see the largest number of people that took the survey were your classroom teachers, 44%. There's 5% that choose not to answer again because they want to remain anonymous. And educational specialists, 11%, paraprofessionals, 14%, support staff, 19%, administration, 7%. By the way, the school perceptions take the anonymity very, very serious. If Steve called me up and wanted to know the particular person that answered a question a certain way, we wouldn't give them the answer. We tell them, well, no, your staff wants anonymity, so we make sure that it remains anonymous. So all we have is their email addresses, but we don't line people up with responses at all. Now it's not doing it yet. Describe your best position, click. Well, I guess the other options use this thing. If I click on this, will this, oh, now we went to that. Okay, so technology. How'd we get there, Carrie? It's been that kind of day for me. I don't know about you. Are you getting it back or no?
Yeah.
Okay. You should just stay up here and
I know,
I'll
apparently.
point you and click. Since my clicker's not working. Okay, there we go. Go back further.
Okay.
Back further.
Sorry.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. All right, the next one. That one.
Okay.
And then you can set it up to start there.
Okay.
Okay. So you have, wow, a large percentage of people, 51% of your people have been here 6 to 10 years or more. That's a really good survey. 22% were 1 to 2 years, 22% 3 to 5 years. Again, choose not to answer. But that's just the data on that. We do an index analysis. I would say call it a category. I think it was categories, but they call it index analysis. Basically, we're going to take certain areas, and I'll show you what those are in a minute. But then we rank them: strongly agree, disagree, and strongly disagree. Now, if you'll notice, there's no number 3. And we do that purposely. We want an opinion. And I'll show you later on what happens when you have a neutral zone. People that don't want to think about it or give too much thought to it just go to the neutral zone. But this forces an opinion. They have to agree or disagree, which gives us a much better result. There is also for every question an option to say they don't know or doesn't apply to them, and that gets used as well. So these are the index. We have academics, engagement, support, student experience, and staff experience. There's about 5 to 10 questions that relate to each one of those indexes. So we come up with that total report. If you look to the right of that is your current score this year. And the last time you did it was 2 years ago. You didn't do it last year, but you did the year before. You've done it, quite a bit before that as well. So there's your current score. There's your previous score. There's the percentage change. Percentage change is kind of interesting. You've done better in everything. The only thing that was down a little bit was engagement, down 0.3, which anything less than 10% is really insignificant. So that's really nothing. It's pretty much the same. But then the next column is comparison. Not every school orders the comparison, but you do. I think it's very smart because when you look at the results, you can see how those results compare to schools like yours. So how are they like yours? So we find other districts that have the same similar enrollment to you have, that also have the same student-teacher ratio, have the same revenue per pupil of it, and also the number of families who are on free and reduced lunch. So we're trying to line up, and we get that down to 25 districts that's like Richland. So when we say comparisons, we're not comparing you to Milwaukee or Madison or anything else. We're comparing you to districts like you, okay? So if all these other results I'm going to show you, you're going to see comparison results. So that's the staff. Ooh, well, that was interesting. Jumped ahead on me. I'm having fun. Okay. Okay. Now, after we do the index analysis, now we do an item analysis, where we take absolutely every question on the survey
and we're gonna tell you whether they agree, disagree, strongly agree, or don't know. So here's the different surveys that they saw. One was workday. People answer a question. Student discipline is a consistent matter most days. I look forward to going to work. The amount of work I'm able to do is reasonable, manageable. Our school's student discipline practice and policies are effective. So that's part of it. So there's your percent agree, the score that you gave, your students gave, and then your comparison. Now you look at that. How can we have 75% agree, but we're in the 99th percentile? Well, there's a lot of people with a lot lower percentage agreement. So it puts you in the 99th percentile. It's a really high mark. And that's why having the comparison scores is so important, because it tells you what your scores mean compared to other districts like you. We list these work days in order of best comparison down to lowest. So here's some more workday ones. Continued. I feel comfortable sharing input, information important to my work is shared with me in a timely and effective manner. Our staff does a good job of educating. I have healthy working relationships with my coworkers. I understand the expectations my supervisor administrator has of me. The last one, you'll notice, there's no comparison report, because we also give the school district an option to create individual questions that they want to know more about. So that was one that your administration wanted to add that question. I understand the expectations my supervisor administrator has of me. So that's why you don't have a comparison report there, because it's individual to your district. We can only compare you when the question is exactly the same word for word. Okay. So that's the workday section. Next section is on environment. School board, well, you like this one, right? The school board is doing what it takes to make our district successful. 91st percentile. So your school district, your staff, and your people that work for you are very supportive of the school board and the work that you're doing. 91% is very high. All students at our school are respected for their values and beliefs. District administration is doing what it takes to make our district successful, and I have the technology I need to do my job well. So again, those are your comparison scores, very high. There's another section on environment. In the last year, I received useful feedback to help improve my work. I have access to the technology and support I need. I feel safe at work, and I have opportunities for training and professional development. Again, we're showing the comparison scores from highest to lowest in that area. Okay. More environment. I have the materials and supplies I need to do my job well. Well, in comparison, you were 41st. So there's apparently some staff who feel they don't always have all the materials and supplies they need to do their job well. I have a reliable, consistent internet access to my job. That was one that you added. That's why you don't have a comparable. And then you also wanted to ask, I have opportunity to collaborate with my colleague. Again, we can't give you a comparable on that because that was individual. Although the scores were pretty high in those, 91%, 89% is very high. Then the next section is on support. All the questions on support. School has a process to ensure every student has a connection. Very, very high, 99th percentile. Congratulations, that's awesome. The district is heading in the right direction, 99th percentile again. Wow, in comparison, really good. District pay practices are fair, 99th percentile. I don't see that very often. Our parents and community support the school district. 83% said that, 76 percentile in the comparison. Again, the scores are one thing, but the comparison, I think, tells you a little bit more how you compare with other districts like you. More on support. Social and emotional needs of all students are being met. Students in our school are given equal opportunities to learn and experience success. I have training and support to work with students from different backgrounds, and the district receives input from a broad group of staff members. Again, you see the comparison scores coming down from high to low. One more on support. I feel supported by a supervisor. Staff input is valued. I'm recognized when I do a good job. It's not uncommon for that to be low. A lot of people don't feel they get recognized when they do a good job, so it's fairly common. Okay, our school supports equal opportunities for, now, again, all genders, different racial backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, different economic backgrounds, and students with special needs. So you see how it goes from high comparison of 87th down to 61, from all genders, racial backgrounds, and then students with special needs. That's the lowest rating on that. Your district, the staff refers to these as PLCs. You probably heard that terminology before. PLCs is professional learning communities. Again, these are all questions that you ask specifically for your district. They're not one in our common. So we did this a little differently. We showed it as a graph. We thought it was easier to understand. So I prefer the current schedule, student early release on Wednesday to previous calendars. So what, 58% approve, agree, or totally disagree. Some people disagree, and then don't know doesn't apply. The reason that number is high, it's gonna be high in the next couple as well, because there's a number of people that took the survey who don't do PLCs. So they're just gonna put, I don't know, because it doesn't apply to me. So for example, maybe some of your paraprofessionals or maybe some of your specialists, your school psych people like that wouldn't necessarily be involved in a PLC. I find the PLCs that participate in are valuable. 47% agree or or strongly agree or agree. There's the 31%, again, those are people who don't involve in PLCs. If we do this set of questions again, another thing we can do is when people put at the beginning, they're in an area that doesn't get PLCs, we can streamline it so those numbers are out of there. But that's what's going on. By the way, Steve and Carrie and other administrators in the district have access where they can actually go into the survey and pick any question and say, how do my high school people say answer this compared to elementary or middle? So it's very, 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 they get the answers immediately through the software that we have, very strong. Here we go again. We're gonna click 40 times. Oh, now we're back to Sean. Jerry, I'm glad you're over there. We're gonna get to another section that you picked. Well, while we're waiting, anybody have any questions about the stuff we've shown so far, or questions for you have about the survey? I've done a few of these. Between you and me, this is a great survey in terms, you've obviously doing some great work here. Your school administration, your staff are really doing a nice job here. These are really high marks that you're getting here. Actually higher than what you've had in the past, in fact. So good for you. Well done.
So on the slides where they have a NA earlier in your presentation.
Right.
Do we keep those records? So like the next time we do a survey, then we can compare to see.
We could, yes, we could compare the first result with the second result.
Yes.
But we still can't do the comparison. But
Right.
yes, you will be able to. Yep.
Nothing, Carrie?
No.
Do they provide you an outlook? Do they provide you a copy of the results as well?
Yeah, you have the PowerPoint presentation.
For your admin and folders? Okay. Maybe that'd be another way to do it if we need to. Have you been setting up the room differently?
This is our first time. It's usually over here, but I don't think it's
It was awkward before because you just sit up this way, and then the people on this side were turning around to watch you. It was hard.
That was the idea.
Show me what you have in your books.
I'm not sure.
They have a PDF of this.
They have a PDF.
Of that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got one. So she's got.
She's got hers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, they've changed.
Been having that kind of a day. I parked my car today and the wind was so strong. I parked her next to where they put their shopping carts. And I opened the door and wham. Said, okay, we have that kind of a day today. Oh, there, look, there we go. Okay. This is another area that you asked specifically to ask questions about. The following departments consistently treat students with dignity and respect. So there's the highest scores from paraprofessionals, administrative assistants, and so on, down to food service. A little different for food service and such. You know, I see district office and IT up there as well. And quite honestly, I mean, the numbers are all over 400. But, you know, when you district office, the students don't know the district office as well. They don't have as much opportunity to work with them. IT is out there fixing things all the time, so they don't have the opportunity of all as well. But all scores are pretty good there. Let's see if this works now. Okay. The following departments consistently treat staff with dignity and respect. Again, this is one that you added and wanted, and how that ranks. The scores from up to a 5-point scale, 4.42 down to 4.1. Following treat staff with dignity and respect. Paraprofessionals again, administrative assistants, maintenance, custodial, IT, teachers, food service, and district office. Yeah, the district office does all the bad things. I worked there a long time. I understand. You have to make hard decisions. It doesn't make everybody happy always. Okay, we asked this question, and this is the example that I give. What happens when you have a neutral? On this, on a scale of 1 to 10, 5 is neutral. See what happens? You get a lot of people that will go 5, 14%, because they don't want to make a positive or a negative, so they just go neutral. That's what happens when you offer a neutral. And that's why we do the 5, 4, 2, 1 rating on the other standards. But again, pretty positive. I mean, I think over 80% of your staff are above neutral. That's a very positive response, very positive. Now, this is a comparison. So your district score, when you put it all together, is 7.93. The comparison score was 6.77. So your comparison percentile is in the 99th percentile. That's really, really good. Very strong. Very strong. Then, this one you added, on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend the district as a place to educate a child? And again, we can't do a comparison because we don't do this with other districts, but you wanted this. This is how that ranked. Again, pretty similar to the other one, a little bit lower. District score is 7.77 instead of 7.93. So that's that. So we break this down. We give you your 5 highest scores and your 5 lowest scores. And we do it 2 different ways. We do it based on the score that your staff actually gave them on the 5-point scale. And then we do it again with comparisons. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways. First, we'll do it based on your scores. So the highest score you got was, I have access to the technology support I need. IT should be very happy about that. I have a healthy working relationship with my coworkers, and I feel safe at work. Our staff does a good job of educating our students, and I have the technology I need to do the job well. Those are the 5 items with your highest scores by your staff. Here's the 5 items with the lowest scores. Our school student discipline practices and policies are effective. I'm recognized when I do a good job. Staff input is valued. District puts input on a broad group of staff members, and the social and emotional needs of all students are being met. So those are your lowest scores, again, based on your actual scores that your students, your staff gave you. Now I'm going to do the same thing, only by comparison. So here's your highest comparison scores. Wow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 in the 99th percentile. Our school is a process to ensure every student has a connection with at least one adult in school. I think that was an area that you guys worked on.
I think we were in the 7th percentile in 2021.
Yeah, that's pretty man. That's quite a leap. So you've done some really serious work changing that one. District's headed in the right direction, 99th percentile. District pay practices are fair, 99th percentile. Our staff handles student discipline in a consistent manner, 99th percentile. The school board is doing what it takes to make our district successful. That's your highest scores based on comparing to other districts like you. Really nice. Now I'm going to give you your lowest scores. We should do it the other way around. We should do low first and then high, I think. All right. I have opportunities for training professional development to improve. I feel supported by my supervisor administrator when I make a decision. Staff input is valued. I'm recognized when I do a good job, and I have the materials and supplies I need to do my job well. Those are your 5 lowest scores compared to using the comparison scores. Steve, I don't know if you want to speak to how the district handles all these results in terms of strategic planning and such. I know you do quite a bit, I know, using these results.
Yeah, I mean, I think that connections one is a good example. Like this is really good. One, because we get such a high percentage of staff respondents. We know that the data that we're getting is representative of, our staff. It's not like we're getting 20 response, but also this gives us good ways to find out areas that we still need to improve on and put an emphasis in those areas.
And school perceptions wants to know how you get to the 99th percentile. They've never had another district get to the 99th percentile for participation.
Drive them with clothing.
Well, it works. It really works. We should share that with other districts.
It is interesting though, you
Can you flip to that other one now?
In raw scores,
Over here.
discipline practices are fair. I think that was one of our lowest raw score, but yet it's in the 99th percentile. I find that interesting that the raw score is that much lower than the percentile is. Do you find that discipline practices, people don't agree on that? Is that
Absolutely not. That's discipline practice is one that always raises a red mark in a lot of districts. They don't feel it's, one teacher does it one way, another teacher does it another way. The school district, the school itself maybe doesn't have a consistent policy. So obviously it does some very good work there. Some very good work. Okay, so another thing we do, and I don't think this isn't in PowerPoint, but another thing we provide, and I don't know if you can you make that any bigger? Carrie, probably not. I probably should have put it up. There you go. That's good. Okay. So we do a 2-page summary. Everybody likes an executive summary to try to bring things all together. So we do a 2-page summary, and those you saw those indexes before: academics, engagement, support, student experience, and staff. We do that. Then we show the top 3. And on yours, for the top 3, we use your scores, not the comparison results. We use your scores for that. You can see the top 3. I have technology, I have a healthy working relationship, and I feel safe at work. And then we do your bottom 3, staff inputs value, district seeks input from a broad range of staff. The social emotional needs of all students are being met. So again, we used your actual scores that your students, your staff gave, not the comparison scores for that. And then on the second page of this, there's your overall comparison again. And you've seen this before. The overall was 7.93. Previously, you were 7.08. So you've grown quite a bit in that one. 12% change. That's a significant change. and your comparison percentile of 99%, that's really high. Then below that, we show it, we disaggregate it by the schools. So there's your school district, that's the one you saw at the top, the 99 percentile. Here's how your primary school ranked that question. Here's how your intermediate school, your high school, your alternative education. By the way, you didn't have alternative education the last time we did the survey, so we can't, this is the first time we've done that. So we can't really give you your previous score. And then the district office, how they ranked it. So when you pull it all together, it's 7.93. But if you want to see it school by school, satisfaction, you can see it that way as well. Like I said, the software that comes with this program that your administration has access to, you can pick out a particular one question and say, how did all my sixth grade teachers respond to that? Or how did all my fifth grade teachers respond to that? Whenever the enrollment less than 5 people in a group, so for example, if the elementary school, you didn't have 5 counselors, you wouldn't get an answer, you get an NA, again, for anonymity. So they keep it anonymous, that. That is everything I share. I do know, and I don't know if they did a comment analysis as well, because for every one of these sections, people can make comments. Now, one of the things that happen when people make comments, the way our comment analysis works, whenever 5% or more people make that comment, we put the comment in the comment analysis. So sometimes you'll see something that you score very high on, but 10 people commented on it, so we added it in the comment analysis. So people say, well, how come that comment's there, but that's something we scored very high on? Well, you've got individuals writing. In your comment analysis, I think, I'm trying to remember, 120 people made comments, 120, and then there was another number, how many made multiple comments. So for every one of these, when we don't ask a question that they want to ask, that's when they bring it up in the comment analysis usually. That's a lot of information. The good news is you have a report. Steve and Carrie can dig very deep. If you want to know more deeply about any of those numbers, they can do that. But I'll tell you, that was the last one of these I did. It was a district where everything was negative. So it was kind of fun for me when I saw your results. I said, Steve, you're doing some great work. This is a very positive report. Very positive. Other questions you may have?
Because some of the comments did include individual staff members' names, they're in the administrative content. You do have access to all of the comments in the administrative content in your board docs. So you can see those, all 160 of them were comments.
We organized those, we grouped them together by subsets in there, easy to see. You usually have a tough question for me. Nothing today, huh? It's been a couple of years. I remember you usually, I recognize you usually has a tough question. Anybody else? I'm glad you do the comparison scores because some districts don't do that. And when you score a 4.33, is that good or is it bad? And without the comparison, it's really hard to tell. So the comparison scores are really valuable. You also did a longitudinal report that compares this report to the past years that we've done it. We do a longitudinal report, and it goes question by question. And whenever the score goes up 10% or down 10%, if it goes up 10%, you get a green in it. If it was down 10%, you get a red in it. But they have other reports too that are very, very, very helpful. For them to look at individual questions. Okay, I took up a lot of your time.
Good information.
We're okay?
Yes.
Anybody else have anything? Okay. Carrie, you made the technology work. Bless you. You can get back to Sean now. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for using school perceptions.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
All right. We're gonna move on to agenda item 10E under the modified agenda due to some earlier technical difficulties. So 10E is the 2024-25 audited financial report under the modified agenda.
Okay, let me share my screen again. Hopefully I'll stay connected this time. All right, can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, John, let me know that I was on page 4 when I got cut off, so I'll start here. Overall, revenues increased about $2 million. Most of that was within state sources increasing. Instructional expenses compared to prior year went up about 1.4 million. Support services increased about 6 million, with most of that having to do with the capital projects going on. I also wanted to point out the long-term debt proceeds of 27 million in the capital projects fund. So that overall fund balance of 21 million is a little inflated since a lot of those proceeds haven't been spent by the end of the year. General fund had a net change in fund balance of about negative 18,000, so pretty much even over the course of the year. Last year overall, the change was a negative 2 million, so this year was a lot better financially compared to prior year. Overall ending fund balance, general fund was about 5.7 million. Capital projects again was 21 million, with most of that just being unspent proceeds. And then the non-major funds were about 1.7 million for a total of about 29 million compared to last year of 6.5. Here we have a budget comparison for the general fund as well as 2024 totals in the far column. So overall, both property taxes and state sources for revenues were quite a bit higher than they were prior year, fairly comparable to budget. Instructional services up about $1 million, slightly above budget. Support services, fairly comparable to prior year, and then a bit below budget overall. And then I wanted to point out towards the bottom here, we have the extraordinary item for the insurance proceeds. That has to do with the concession stand fire that took place. So those were proceeds that came in related to that claim. So those are shown separately since it's not within the ordinary course of the school's operations. Here we have a budget actual for the special education fund. So total revenues increased quite a bit, most of that being state sources. That was fairly close to budget. Total instruction went up about 400,000 and was below budget. Support services went up about 50,000 and were over budget about 84,000. And then for special education, this has to be a balanced fund essentially, so revenues and expenses have to match. So each year the general fund will transfer over money to cover any deficits. Last year that transfer was about 2.14 million. This year it's about 2.16 million. So essentially the same net revenues and expenses between periods. Now we have a trend in overall fund balance. So between 2020 to 2022, there was a slight increase. There was a large increase in 2023. That mainly had to do with expenses being covered by ARPA funds, ESSER funds, so money that came from COVID money that was given out. In 2024, there was a large decrease in fund balance. That was mainly because those expenses were still incurred by the district, whether it was salaries or other curriculum costs, stuff like that. But the COVID money was no longer there to kind of cover those costs. And then 2025, it was about a net zero gain. So either those revenues covered it or costs were cut. Here we have a breakdown of different types of fund balance. So this is essentially what the district has available to be spent on stuff in comparison for 2024 and 2025. So non-spendable would be money that's already been spent for something, such as like prepaid items. Restricted has yet to be spent, but has been designated for certain items, such as the capital projects. That 21 million is going solely towards the referendum, and debt service is a 1 million that's solely for future debt payments. Committed and assigned is designated by the board. So there's committed funds for the HRA each year and then assigned funds for future capital purchases. And then unassigned can be spent on any general operation. So it was about 5 million both years. A breakdown of the revenues. 50% of the revenues come from state sources, 38% from local sources. That's mainly property taxes. 10 million of that, 11 million shown there is just from property taxes. And then the remaining is federal, interdistrict, and other revenues. We also note that of the state revenues, 11.4 million is from the equalization aid, and that's approximately 39% of the district's total revenues. We show a trend in property taxes. So after 2021, it's been increasing every year quite a bit. We also note from the audit that the district has fully complied with the state revenue limitation regulations, and that equalization aid, student enrollment, and revenue limit formula imposed by the state directly impacts what the district is able to levy. We also have a trend in equalization aid. So this is something that's calculated by the state. It was pretty consistent between 2019 to 2024, and then increased quite a bit in 2025. This is calculated using an average of enrollment over the past 3 years, and then is determined using a formula that's passed by state statute. So overall, that formula increased for 2024-25. So for this slide, we show a trend in district enrollment. So between 2019 to 2024, there's kind of been a steady decrease overall. We do note that enrollment trends directly impact equalization aid, but from the last slide, we saw that it increased overall. So that was just a change by the state, kind of for all districts, increasing it. A breakdown in revenues. This year is a little skewed because support services includes the referendum project. Next year will be similar as well as that project wraps up. So that 48% for support services typically will be closer to what instructional is. Those will be about the same at 11 million. And then just some remaining costs related to capital outlay, non-program, and debt service costs. Lastly, we show a breakout of the debt and other financial obligations that the district has. So beginning of the year, they had about 5 million outstanding in bonds and notes. The 27 million was borrowed for the referendum project. So there's about 31 million outstanding in debt. We also list any financial purchase agreements. That would be kind of like leased vehicles, as well as compensated absences. So since there was a change in policy for that, there was no balance at the beginning of the year, but now that employees can be paid out for any unused sick time, that's now being reported. So there's a potential payout of about 300,000 for that. We also note that the debt limit that the district has is about 115 million, of which 31 is currently being used. So there could be 83 million or 72% available for debt capacity if needed. Are there any questions?
Found anything that you would need to point out at all?
No, I think Matt did a great job.
Do we still consider our fund balance healthy at 5.7 million? To the overall budget?
I would say so. That's something that probably the district kind of needs to analyze on its own as well. I know some districts pass fund balance policies as well for what they want to have their fund balance to be compared to, say, general expenses. That could be something to look into if you guys wanted to.
You know what the percentage is, that 5.7? What is the percentage of our general expenditures?
So overall general expenditures this year would have been about 20 million. So
that includes referendum?
No, this is only for general fund. So this would not include the referendum costs. So it's at about 27% right now.
So our policy says at least 20, and we
Okay.
try to be above that. I believe it's 20, is that right, John? And then I would just add, I know the first time Matt was, on, he mentioned a change, correct me if I'm wrong here, a change in the the capital thresholds from 5,000 to 10,000. Is that accurate?
Correct. Correct, yes.
Yeah, we do have a Neola update. I'm meeting with Neola tomorrow, so probably on the January 28th. And so we will try to get our policies revised at that time to match that threshold as well. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for having me.
All right, on to action items, purveyor bids.
Mr. Ambihan, because I am an employee of one of the purveyors and it directly affects my position, I will be abstaining and also leaving the room for the discussion portion.
Thank you.
Mr. Bosworth, I think I'll just turn it over to you. That's okay.
Yeah, that's great. Historically, we have every year solicited bids for our USDA food purveyor. This is something that we're required to do by law, so we do that. We have received one bid for a number of years from Cisco. And so it's kind of been on cruise control. We've certainly solicited bids from multiple vendors, but 3, 4, 5 at a time. But typically we've only gotten Cisco, and sometimes other vendors just don't see the point in it. This year we did have 2 submit bids, and we ran a cost analysis, and a second bidder, Performance Food Service, came in under Cisco. One thing to point out there was one line item that Performance didn't have a bid for, so maybe it wasn't a difference of quite that much. Maybe drop it by $3,000, but still about a $10,000 difference over the annual costs. However, a couple of things that we've discovered since through this process. Like I said, it was kind of on cruise control, soliciting the bids and only getting one bidder. But we've discovered a few things in the last couple of weeks and maybe even in the last couple of days. One is that we have options annually on how we want to go about figuring out who the purveyor would be. One of the options is to simply say, give us your numbers and we're going to take the lowest bid. We could also do that, but then write in the bid and write in the contract that we would now have the ability to simply re-up the same vendor for another year, and not necessarily go to bid again for up to 5 years. We could do that. The other option is that some school districts will put out an RFP, and it's not necessarily just based on costs. It's based on other factors that they want to consider, and they make a point system. And cost still is required to be the greatest weighted factor in your point system, but you can put some other things in there. So we didn't realize we had those options. We simply use the past practice. So I just want you to realize that we could have done that. Technically, we still could do that if we wanted to stop this and restart. The other thing that I want us to consider, and maybe we need to pause this, is that because historically we've used Cisco for a lot of years, our actual bid and the things that we solicited for were really designed around Cisco's products. So when we say, tell us how much it would cost to get this, it's kind of a unique Cisco product we're asking for the prices on. So now when we're thinking through this, I don't know that we're necessarily comparing apples to apples right now. And it may behoove us to just pause for a little bit and give us some time to vet that and see if we really are doing apples to apples and if the price difference is really what it shows. And so we may, come back at the next meeting and say, yep, it's all apples to apples, it's all great. Or we might say, no, it's different, we should restart. And then if that's the case, then we probably want to have a conversation. What do we want to use for our bid process? It's kind of a lot of information there. Is there any questions I could try to answer?
When does this have to be decided on? Is there a date that you have to have for?
I just think prior to the 26-27 school year.
Do we get a better rate if you lock in somebody for 5 years?
I haven't, I just actually learned of this yesterday and today, so I'm not super well versed in the 5-year process, but it certainly seems intriguing.
And then the other is the quality of the food. When comparing the two, you're seeing different prices, but is the quality of the food less for the cheaper stuff? Is it the same?
Yeah, great question. I did add a couple things in here just today. So if some of you had looked at this a couple days ago, I did add some notes here this morning. We did do some reference checks on the second bidder performance, and they service schools near us, Baroque, WASB, Kickapoo, and Hillsborough. So our food service director called those schools, and now those schools don't necessarily use Performance and Cisco to say, yep, one's better than the other, but they didn't have any grave concerns over food quality or food quantity, sizes, and things like that.
How about reliability?
There was no concerns from the other schools, and Performance Food services other entities in Richland, and they're in the city at least weekly, if not daily, going to other areas.
Would your recommendation, John, be to not act on this tonight and allow us an opportunity to dig into this a little bit more, given some of this information is relatively new?
Unfortunately, that is my recommendation. I apologize for putting this on here and then having to table it, but we just got a couple more pieces of information here recently that probably should look into before we approve one or the other.
I would feel better to wait and take the time and really know that we're making the right decision. So I think that, personally, I think that's what we should do.
That's the thoughts of the board, then I would ask them to entertain a motion to postpone this to a future meeting date.
I would make that motion. Brady made the motion and Ryan seconded it to postpone the purveyor bids to a later date as they gather more information. Any discussion? Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
We want to grab this.
All right, the strategic planning timelines and steering committee.
So, obviously the board knows, but really for the public, the board's engaged in the strategic planning process. We've contracted with Donovan Group on helping guide the board through the strategic planning process. One of the things that the board had to do recently at a board governance special board meeting in December was to nominate individuals in the community to be on a steering committee, so that steering committee could then take the lead and, without board intervention or administration intervention, be able to plan this 2-day community event, which is, tentatively sometime at the end of March, early April. There's a timeline, PDF timeline in your board docs. And I would say that the timeline, when it says month 1 and 2, those, just given on the timing of where we're at, they generally align to month number 1 being January, month number 6 being June. So we're right on pace for doing this, but the board nominated some committee members. We have board members then reached out to them to see if they would participate in that and trying to include as many diverse backgrounds as possible. And I think that we have 13 confirmed, and I'll turn that over to Mr. Abihan for making an announcement.
Yeah, on behalf of the board, the school district, and community, I really want to thank Ron Fruit, Derek Kalish, Brady Ewing, Larry Engel, Mick Cosgrove, Megan Clerkin, Riley Banker, Paxton Posh, Shelley Stibbe, Mark Miller, Crystal Loomy, Lacey Sobranic, and Rob Wanless for their willingness to participate in this really exciting time of strategic planning. School district and community, and putting yourself out there to be a steering committee member. So thank you.
So this was on for action because at the time that we published the board agenda and the board book, we did not necessarily know if we were going to have enough committed to the steering committee. And so we left it on there for action, just in case the board needed to nominate additional. Donovan Group has said minimum of 10, we've got 13. So it feels like we've got the right number of folks on the steering committee. The Donovan Group will then work with that steering committee and get together 4 or 5 times to plan this event. And the event will happen, hopefully getting a couple hundred people there. And then the steering committee will analyze all of the data on the back end. It's kind of the general process. So because we have enough people, I don't think we need to take any action on it unless the board feels that 13 is not adequate.
I think we're right in the sweet spot. Would you all agree? All right, see the heads nodding. I think we're good. All right. We'll move on then to the transition of drug-free communities grant to Richland Hospital.
Okay, so you know that we had been working on trying to fill the project coordinator for the Drug-Free Communities grant. I had shared with the board numerous times that the school district was not really the ideal place for this thing being sustainable after the grant ended. We've been in communications with the Richland Hospital. They were interested in taking the grant on. I think I informed the board that in December. They have now made a formal motion through their hospital board. You can see the motion that they have approved, that they will become the fiscal agent of the grant and take the grant over, which I think is great because it really has a legitimate chance of improving community health as well as having some sustainability to it. So now our board would need to take similar action and approve the change in fiscal agent. We would be giving that up and transitioning it to the Richland Hospital. And then the transition time could be anywhere from 30 to 60 days as we work through all the requirements of the grant. Just know that it won't happen tomorrow. There'll be some year-end closing statements, things like that that we'll have to do to work with the hospital. But that would be the recommendation, that we transition this to the hospital.
Is there a motion to approve the change in fiscal agent of the Drug-Free Communities grant to the Richland Hospital Incorporated as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Ms. Troxel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Thompson. Any discussion? Mr. Malin?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye. And make motion to move into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.851C to consider employment, compensation, and contract matters involving administrators, and 19.851F to consider confidential student and personnel matters. At the conclusion of the closed session, the board will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Dowden. Discussion. No.
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Gary, thank